To those keen viewers, that's the back side of the microphone. I do appreciate you holding it close to you, but that...
Like this? What do you mean?
No. There's a side that you speak into. Yeah, there you go.
Like this?
That's the one.
That's better?
That is better.
Okay.
It's made to not record very well from the other side. You know, I was driving over here,
Sure.
just having a dandy good time, enjoying the weather.
Uh-huh. It's been raining a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. I got to the freeway, and the second I passed under the freeway, it started raining.
Uh-huh.
It's just so wet on this side. Why is this pouring so poorly?
I think that's user error. I think that is... Because that's a normal can.
It is, but it's not pouring like one.
It's not one of those trick cans.
It's not, you gave me a trick can?
No.
Are you sure?
God, that's bad. I haven't seen head like that since...
To me. That's a really good liquidy sip.
Mine's good.
Season 2,
Episode 5.
Episode 5. Oh, fuck me. I gotta
Rehearsal.
fix this. Hold on.
Like HBO show starring Nathan Fielder.
I could not remember Nathan Fielder's name the other day. It was all I could remember was Nathan Fillion.
No, that's a different Nathan.
That's a different Nathan.
What's your top 5 favorite Nathans?
Oh, 5 is a lot.
Yeah. Fielder, Fillion.
Number 1, my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, your brother.
Yeah, he's more of a Nathaniel.
Yeah, so is mine. But
Some people call him Nathan, and
we gotta stretch.
It's his friends that I've never met. No one that I know that I have hung out with him, except for some New York people, call him Nate. It's very jarring.
I could see that as jarring, especially when you're so used to it being the other way.
Yeah.
Fillion's up there. He's probably 3. Fielder's probably 4. I don't know who goes. Peterman.
There we go. We got there. We did it. I didn't think we could do it, but we did it.
Nate Dogg.
One of my favorite Thanksgivings.
Now, you may have noticed this latest ep that we watched. We did not see Wings of a Voice.
No.
There was no singing competition. We cut straight to Congress.
Boy, it's making a lot of the rounds, that article we referenced yesterday, though. All of the other articles are now referencing that article. It's a big talking point, even more so this week than last. I don't know if we started on like the front end of the publicity that it would get. Did you read any more about it?
A little bit. It's obviously getting very strong into the autism, I don't want to say spectrum, the autism scale of comments right now. That seems to be where the focus is at. Do we want to start, or do we want to talk about the articles? I didn't read too many of the articles. I just kind of got into about basically what he covers in the episode.
Mm.
Is that he discovers, at least if we suspend belief for this show,
Yeah, sure.
this is the first time
Right.
he's ever heard. There you go.
If we're living that kayfabe life.
Yes. If we're marking out, then he's discovering that people don't take him seriously because he's a comedian. And when you Google him, you find all sorts of just ridiculous, him being an absolute goofball in the name of laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Harkening back to episode 1.
yep.
The
of
clown.
The clown under the car.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And this is after he does a little rehearsal for being in front of Congress, which doesn't go.
It goes pretty poorly.
Well.
And it goes so poorly that even his old head of the NTSB friend is disappointed in
So he
how
says,
it's going.
what could be causing this? Let me Google myself, and everybody thinks I'm a comedian, and comedians are morons.
Now, we can skip past this because the first thing he does, he says, I think I'm ready to go talk to Congress in front of this board. I need to get an audience with this board. So he talks to Warner Brothers, the owner of HBO Max, HBO Now, Max, HBO Go, and soon to be HBO Max again. And they
Brave decision, by the way.
yeah, really
Brave.
bring it all around. And they realize that Warner Brothers has a office dedicated to lobbying, and they see if the senators of the air traffic safety will speak to him on the subject. They say no. To put it bluntly, I would like to read the letter that they actually wrote, but basically his publicist said, or the Warner Brothers office person said, they're not interested in talking to you about this.
Yeah, you can't just go in front of Congress. This isn't a town hall. It's much bigger, much more security. So he needs an in. And how's he going to get that in?
He begins again. We'll go back to where he was Googling himself. He finds out people consider him to be a clown, but also there is a corner of the internet fascinated with his show and him, in that they think his show is a good representation of autism. And he's become a quote-unquote leader in the world of autism, in the way that autistic people learning to function in society often rehearse situations before they get to them.
Yeah. It's an outlandish envisioning of a common technique called masking that neurodivergent people will use sometimes to get along in their day. That could just be rehearsing a conversation in your head. They don't all make full sets.
Well, masking it leads to masking, where he talks about that. And masking is the situation where they just pretend not to be themselves so as not to be judged.
Right.
But they find that when they're actually, people understand that they're autistic and know that they're autistic, they can be themselves more authentically, and they actually do a better job of functioning because they're not worried about how they're sticking out. Or
Now, how does this relate to airplanes? It just so happens that one of our congressmen on the subcommittee,
the senior member
aviation,
of the Aviation Safety Committee,
he's also on another one of these, because you're on more than one over there, and that is on autism.
Yep.
So it's a big leap to get in front of Congress to discuss planes, but not if I jump here first and then jump to there.
So he goes and talks to what would you call it? I forget what is the Autism Alliance, or
yeah, a foundation.
It's a foundation that,
and talks to the doctor in charge.
Yep, and they basically research similar to what he does with the show, where they rehearse everyday activities that stress autistic individuals out, like, for example, airports.
She says that you can make great use of the airport set because that's a common place of stress to a neurodivergent, with so many crowds,
noises,
sounds, unconventional places and lines and things you have to do
very little
that you
patience.
don't do on a daily basis.
And so while they do rehearse airport for their members all the time, this airport that he shows her sends a light off in her face where she's like, this could be very useful.
And it looked like it was. They
now,
get a gaggle of them down there.
Let's not cut ahead. What was his response when she said, we would really love to use this set that you have. This would be super useful.
It was, it was the funniest part of the episode to me. Because
I would call it the second funniest, but
last ep I was talking about how that whole ep seemed very neurodivergent coded, a love letter to neurodivergence in the way that he is going from task to task, in the way that he's not understanding common nonverbal communication, like looking somebody in the eye and what does that mean, and practicing through all of those different techniques. So then it seems very obvious to me on the outside, and then he is confronted with the idea that he could be neurodivergent himself, both from the articles that have been posted about him and also from his ideas and the path that this kind doctor is leading him down. One of the tests is, let me just show you eyes and eyebrows and you tell me what these eyes and eyebrows mean. And it is very difficult for a neurodivergent to pick out, in some cases, what emotion they're coming back with. And he does not do well in the test.
Now, can we point out how important it is for him to surround himself on this TV show with straight characters? And I don't mean heterosexual characters, but I mean
playing the
straight character. And not playing, but just he surrounds himself with the most authentic characters, period, that it makes him stick out so absurd. It's often what reminds me of, like, what's so funny about I Think You Should Leave Now is it's always one person being absurd and everyone else going, what is happening right now? You are breaking all societal norms and this is messing with my mind. And he sells that very well. This entire, like, him talking to his mentor, if you will, on this airline safety committee, him talking to Congress, him just trying to have a conversation about jokes with one of the actors during one of the breaks.
He rehearses all of these and then...
which, by the way, I thought was the funniest part of the episode was his joke about the bus.
Yeah. That was a good joke.
And I would love to see the cutting room floor to see if he did more than just those two takes. The one take where no one laughs and the other take where everyone comically fake laughs.
Yeah, that was pretty tremendous. So he fails this test and he is very obviously visibly uncomfortable with the idea of possibly receiving a diagnosis of being a neurodivergent, the idea that he himself
this doctor
could be
does not let on to at all. She never tries to lead him there.
It's very obvious in the way they've edited it.
Yes.
But she does not come out and say, hey, here's a free pamphlet.
She definitely,
do you want to come in for a session?
She says it a few times without being, like, direct. She gets halfway there and goes, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to, you'll come to your own conclusions, I suppose.
Maybe you will or you won't.
Or you won't.
And I thought it was such a hilarious bit about him trying to come to terms with that as an idea. Again, we don't know how much is real and how much is fake and how much he might be on the spectrum or not. Doesn't really matter. He's doing a wonderful job,
yes,
either playing at or authentically feeling those feelings, so much so that he gets to the end of it. And after rehearsing all of these things in front of Congress and rehearsing this and rehearsing that, he finally gets in front of the senator. And he says, I'm not going to rehearse this at all. I don't need to. Which was so
oh my God.
funny. And then what does he do there at the interview? Does he do I'll just put it in a binary. Does he do a good job or a bad job?
Biffs it.
He biffs it
hard.
He does such a bad job.
And what does he do to recover?
He gets back to the notes.
He pulls out the notes and reads directly from the notes, which the senator is a little taken aback by. The senator, bless his heart, the Democratic senator from Louisiana, I believe.
I don't remember.
Listens to him. Takes him quite seriously until he starts to kind of go on about, like, here's my plan. Here's how we'll fix it.
Yes.
What we'll do is, and he pulls out his laptop and shows a video of pilots acting out a small scene.
It's the Captain All Ears and Captain Blunt or something like that.
Captain All Ears and Officer Blunt.
Yeah.
And watching them do it, I actually was way into his plan. I was like, this could totally work in this world. It definitely seems exactly like that HR BS that I've had to deal with a million times at work, where they're like walking you through this thing, but then all of a sudden there's just that random occasion at work where you're like, oh yeah, this is exactly what this was talking about. Like, this is that this is that moment. And it did seem to break the ice between the pilots and the co-pilots.
Well, they were actors, but yeah.
No, they weren't.
Captain All-Ears and Captain Blunt?
The characters. The people playing them were Captain. And
Are you sure?
Yes, he says it many times.
All right.
Those are part of his pool of captains and first officers that he's brought in to play these out. Remember, they were Southwest, not Southwest affiliated, though.
Sure.
They were Southwest pilots. They're just
free
doing it
ads.
on their free
Yeah.
time. Anyway, so his plan is to give them this script so they can practice a scenario where the first pilot is Blunt, the first officer is Blunt, and the head pilot, the chief pilot is all ears.
Available to listen.
He's
yeah.
here to listen. And they re-rehearse some of the like flight incidents that had caused crashes before, and they seem to go much better. And it seems to allow them to joke about the characters that they had played earlier and lighten the mood a little bit in what is often a scenario where they feel bad because they feel like they're breaking some sort of social norm or they're breaking some sort of caste system where they're not supposed to speak up.
But it doesn't land with the senator. The senator dismisses him, and you're not going to believe this, but Nathan Fielder seems to have a hard time understanding the nonverbal cues that this senator is giving him to leave the office. Did you see that? Did you see that part coming?
Did I see it? Oh boy.
Where did the episode leave off? Do we have anything after that?
Well, here's the thing. What's so impressive to me is that the senator let him set up his film crew for this meeting, clearly not knowing at all what was coming. He definitely makes quite a left turn from autism to airline pilots, which is when he really starts to lose it with his non-rehearsed speeches. I feel like that was it.
I kind of thought that was too. I remember it had a very abrupt ending to the point where we've got one episode left. They're not long eps. I mean, maybe they'll do a longer.
Short.
Yeah, this one was only half hour. Maybe they'll do a little bit of a longer run time for the finale. But I have no idea where we're going in this next episode because there was no hint at it that I remember from the ep. He clearly has no traction with the various people he's spoken to so far. So I wonder what he's going to do.
Maybe Paramount has different lobbyists that he could.
Maybe, there we go. Maybe
He hasn't burned that bridge completely yet, right? I feel like, funny enough, I think Paramount has handled this quite well. I don't think they've come out and said anything about this at all.
There was something around the second ep that they were surprised that they didn't know it was going to occur. But
Yeah.
I really haven't heard anything since. Probably because the Sully ep was so sufficiently
they went
bonkers
right-
that
yeah.
everybody just wanted to talk about.
It went right past. Okay, Nazis. That was a thing. But how about? There's no way Sully's going to talk about it now after that ep. Like if there was an episode that came out and it was just talking about his theory on Sully and his theory about Sully listening to this music for 22 seconds before landing the plane in the Hudson, and then they tried to get Sully's comment, I feel like we might be able to get a comment out of him. But now that the episode shows him as recreating Sully's life from a baby with giant marionette puppets,
Yeah, they got Evanescence for that spot instead.
yeah, I don't think he's coming out. Where will this show go?
Because we don't have any momentum to get in front of Congress, which has been kind of the driving goal.
Is he going to bring back the kids? I'm telling you, it's going to come back to that girl in the singing competition.
Okay. The 16-year-old, 14-year-old, whatever, who wakes up.
Who had the guitar.
Yep.
Who he tried to give his promotional speech to. I don't know how it's going to come back to that, but maybe it will connect to that speech that the doctor of the Autism Society was giving him about him kind of being a parent to those children in the season 1, and how she actually looked at that in a a good light, which I don't think most people take towards that first season. Which I believe is his reply to "Can we use the airport?" is, "I made a promise to myself I wouldn't use kid actors this season."
Yeah, he's speaking so much in this app to the whole season to the narrative surrounding Nathan Fielder. The direct responses to the criticisms from season 1, direct responses to how people see him. It's been hilarious.
Is this season any less morally gray? Or more? Or less? No, yeah, less morally gray. Is it a higher moral standard than the first season?
He's certainly in conversation with it, which is something.
The first season had a lot of questions.
Yeah. Well, those broadly are these people the butt of a joke, and boy, he really had this kid emotionally attached to him there at the end, and he hasn't done that second one yet. I was reading a profile on him that was talking about how he doesn't really understand the critique that these other people that he's talking with are the butt of his jokes. He feels like he always puts him in position to be the butt of those jokes, and you can certainly see that in his intention.
I can definitely see that in his intention. I definitely think he heightens his clown, if you will, in most of these scenarios, and I think he highlights that he's the absurd person. But I think he's also missing that some people are laughing at the human reaction to absurdness, or not recognizing that it's absurd, which is like the Ollie G effect, right? Mm-hmm. Like that whole thing is like, it's not people's sincerity, it's catching them being absurd of their own because they think they're in a safe zone of absurdity. Where I think Nathan Fillion, there we go again, Nathan Fielder, walks that line much differently, where he often just shows like genuine, nice people doing just absolute normal human things. The only person I think that's close to being the butt of the joke this entire season is the one morally dark pilot who he shows a couple of times. The one who's
dating app guy?
Yeah, dating app guy has been kicked out of every dating app.
He is absolutely, dating app guy is absolutely the butt of his joke.
But I don't know if he
edited that way. Absolutely.
That's fair. I don't know. The thing about that is I don't know if he led him to that, or if that just kind of, like, that's one where you're hanging yourself kind of a situation.
He probably deserved it based on the things that he was saying. But the way that they shot him in, I think, was it episode 2, and then brought him back in the next episode for like
a couple of seconds,
nasty homophobic comment, and then they just moved on. I think he was absolutely the butt of the joke, and he should be for the nasty things that he said. I kind of thought that the way that they edited it made our senator the butt of the joke.
A little bit, in that
him saying that he doesn't know what masking is and being on this subcommittee.
That part was absurd to me.
That's like being on the aviation subcommittee and not knowing what the term engine is.
Sure.
So I thought that was, and then I think I could make a cogent argument that the first co-pilot that we meet was edited to be a little bit of a joke in the way that he didn't understand that.
Oh, his girlfriend was not his girlfriend?
Correct. So those are the three that would stand out. I'm not sure we need to cry any tears for dating app guy or for
what about the singing competition?
Senator guy. Yeah, so just using our lady who was featured in the article as a stand-in, I certainly feel for the idea that she would lose this financial.
Put your hopes on it.
Right.
Effort, time.
At the same time, there is an aspect of this is kind of what I'm trying to be on TV.
Yeah.
I flew back after they made me sing Old MacDonald.
Yeah.
In the style of dubstep or whatever it ended up being. I mean, it was a real, she is really actually, she has flown herself to L.A. to sing Old MacDonald, that actual song, to pilots, that actual audience. And she said, you know what? I got my golden ticket. I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I think that one's the thing that makes me lean towards that not being the butt of the joke is that often the early seasons of American Idol, people who were rejected and the reactions to that were the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
often, and they cut. If there was any of that, they did absolutely none of it during.
I don't mean to say they were the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
but I can see how they would have a grievance about the way that they were treated with their time on the show.
Sure. What about our co-pilot James?
And just briefly remind the audience who James is. Not me, because I remember immediately.
James is the entire episode. The previous one. It's James, isn't it? The one who goes on the dates?
In episode 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of thought he had real affection for James. I thought he...
I also think so.
I don't think James was the butt of the joke at all. I don't think neurodivergence was the butt of the joke. I think Nathan Fielder was the butt of the joke. The idea of sincerity as something that is, what's the word? He's been talking all season about the idea of sincerity and really honing in on the idea that just because you seem sincere doesn't mean you are, in fact, being authentically sincere. People can fake that.
Sure.
To much different degrees of success, and interrogating the idea that the way that you perceive somebody's sincerity is meaningful or accurate or fair or I don't remember the exact quote. I think it was somewhere earlier in the season. He's talking about sincerity really only helps the people who are actually good at it. And you see that in his little episodes that he's doing, from the eye contact one,
right,
the kissing one, to our pilot that's very good at rejecting people in episode 2.
And he has to try to reject, and he makes a very passionate speech.
In there, he is absolutely the butt of the
Yes.
joke, as he's trying to act sincere. He's trying to take all of these...
He's trying to mask sincerity.
Exactly. And so that would be the butt of the joke for me there in episode 4. Not Colin, who I think he had a genuine affection for.
That's what it is. What did I say? James. Why did I say James? I don't know. Thanks for naturally just coming back to his name, though. I think I'm going to leave it there.
Okay. Well then, stay gold.